Jesus is saying anyone and anything I touch, anyone I connect with, anyone I have a relationship with, no matter how defiled you feel yourself to be, no matter what you've done, no matter how ashamed you are of yourself, no matter what has been done to you, no matter how low you feel, no matter how guilty you are, no matter how defiled, I make you clean. This is what Jesus is saying. Will you trust me? That's the reason why when you come into contact with Jesus, it completely changes the way in which you relate to your world. You're different. It's completely the opposite dynamic to the dynamic that works in every religion of the world and really every philosophical perspective. Even the irreligious operate this way. Those who aren't religious do life the same way as religious people do life. Everybody, even those who deny God, are trying to earn self-worth, trying to establish self-worth. Now, they may do it through saving the earth or fighting and campaigning that everybody should be able to do whatever they want. Regardless of what their stump issue is, their activism is just another way of defining their own self-worth, earning it. Look, I'm a good person because I stood for these things and I'm not like them. Everybody's trying to perform. Everybody. From far right to far left. Everybody's trying to feel good about themselves. But the only thing that you can establish, the only thing that you can feel and achieve is a fragile worthiness. It's fragile because you're never sure that you're good enough because your worthiness has nothing to stand on except comparison. Well, I'm doing better than them, which we all engage in. But is that good enough? How would you know? There's no certainty, and so there's always insecurity. That's why the line on the far left is always moving farther left, because I can always be left of left. And so you find out that once you were left and now you're centrist. And so there's no certainty. There's always insecurity. And that's why you have to draw your boundaries. You define your deplorables, your untouchables, your sinners. And you look down on them and you stay away from them and you make sure that the lines around them or between you and them are bright and clear so that everybody knows they're bad and I'm good. Everybody outside of Jesus does this. And so this is why so many in our culture today are so vindictive and nasty to each other, because everybody's doing this. Whether you're a secular person or a religious person, there's a bright line that you've drawn to say, here are the good people on this side of the line, and on that side of the line, those are the bad people. And because you're so insecure of your own worthiness, you can't have anything to do with the bad people. They might stain me. They might make me look less good. But Jesus changes all of that. He creates, when he comes, he creates this whole new code. He says, you become clean in me because I called you, not because of who you are or what you've done. Do you know what that means? It means you aren't defined by your stains. And that gives you an industrial strength self-image. You never wonder if he loves you because he chose you from the beginning and he didn't choose you because you were good enough. You never have to worry then if you're worthy. But Matt, you say, doesn't that lead to elitism? Oh, I'm called by God and you're not. That means I'm good and you're not. Sure, it would if you were called by God based on merit. But you aren't. The Bible says you're called only because you know you don't deserve it. You know you can't save yourself. And it's only the grace of God that saves you. When you come to that realization, that's when the calling begins. And that's humility. See, humility by definition cannot lead to elitism. But instead, now you can move out into the world with the same gracious confidence that Jesus has. No need for masks or gloves, no need for separation. You can have contact and community with every kind of person, and through your love of them, Jesus' love and grace can infect other people and cleanse them. You can reach out to people. You're not afraid because it's all about him. There's a whole new driving ethic for your life's purpose. So this is why Jesus tells this sneering, judgy crowd, look at verse 13, go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners. That purpose for us is we are called to offer mercy. That's our driving ethic as Christians. Jesus is quoting Hosea 6:6, and in that passage, God is angry at the Israelites. He's angered by their two-faced hypocrisy in terms of their worship, right? They would sin, and then they would go and they would sacrifice and say, it doesn't matter that I sinned. As long as I sacrifice and cover it up, it's as though it never happened, which is something that God told them, but they're using it against God. They're using it to manipulate God, and it makes God angry, because there's no change at all in their behavior. They're like mobsters in a confessional booth. So he says, go and learn what this means. I desire mercy and not sacrifice, for I came not to call the righteous, but sinners. I love that phrase. Go and learn. Do you know what that means? It means Jesus gave them homework. Right? You understand, okay, we've all had math homework, right? And you understand in math homework, nothing new is presented in the homework. That's all presented in the classroom. The teacher helps you to understand how to do the problem set and then assigns a bunch of homework so that it can reinforce in your mind what it's all about. Right? Do this homework. It'll help you to learn it so that it becomes a part of you so that you don't have to think about how to do it later. You'll just know. If you're good at math, right, Jim? Jesus is saying there's more to life than just trying to be worthy. I want you to learn something about the greater role of mercy. Now, I'm going to show it to you first. That's the classroom of the Bible. He shows us what mercy looks like. And then I want you to relate to each other through mercy. I want you to go do this homework. I want you to go learn it for yourself. You see, mercy in the Bible, it refers us to this idea of love and service and compassion and sacrifice for people who are unworthy. It's a completely new paradigm. And it starts with your relationship with Jesus, with your calling. Do you love him? If you do, mercy is what you're called to. This is the outworking of the calling. You take Jesus home, you give up to him the things that matter most to you, which you consider to be at the very center of your life, and he starts reshaping those things to his taste, on his direction, with his priorities, and as he does, he shifts from your priorities, he shifts all of your priorities from religiosity, from earning salvation, to mercy, to giving grace to others. Go and learn what this means, Jesus says. You see, if he healed you, he took your sin. He took our diseases. By his stripes, we are healed. He, Jesus, became an outcast. He was driven out of the city like a leper. He became excluded. He became accursed. He became a pariah. He was beaten and broken and died. That's his mercy. He took your punishment. He took your sin upon himself and took your punishment upon himself. And then he gave us his holiness in return. That's his grace. 2 Corinthians 5 says, we implore you on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. For our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. In Christ, the stained, blemished, wrinkled mess that you and I are become holy and righteous and good. You see, his mercy is not giving us the punishment we deserve. His grace is giving us his righteousness, which we definitely don't deserve. He's the physician that makes all people well. And so when you're humble, you realize how much mercy you need. And you move now out into the world to do mercy because you recognize everybody around us needs that mercy. And all those lines I defined to keep myself from them, those are false lines. And I need to get out and beyond those lines to practice the mercy that God intended me to practice. I need to get beyond those lines to help people see where they can find mercy and grace and peace and hope. That's the shift that Jesus brings. That's the calling. So that's how Jesus came to be in Matthew's house, eating with tax collectors and sinners. And Matthew experienced his mercy, and he wants his friends to experience it too. It's letting your light shine, as Lisa so ably taught us this morning. All who love God are called according to his purpose. Every believer, every Christian, everyone who's ever experienced God's grace and mercy is someone who is called. You're called to the role of a physician, or maybe a cook to feed those who are hungry, or maybe a maid to clean up after them and their messes, or a trash collector to take all of their waste away from them. You're certainly called to be a friend. You fulfill all of those roles for their sake, so that they might know the great hope that you have. You look at those people who've been hurt, people who've been lost, and you reach out and you pour out your life into them. Because it's the sick who need a physician, and you know the great physician. This is what Christmas is really all about. God is not a remote God up in heaven who gives us a code of rules and says, if you're very, very good, I'll bring you a gift. By the way, that's Santa Claus. For some reason, our society likes him better than Jesus in this season, which is absolutely insanity. Jesus is the real reason for Christmas. God, who came down into this contaminated world on purpose, taking on human nature, taking on a body, infecting us with his life, making the unclean clean. The Lord of the universe came into this world and became a human in order to spread to humans the kind of disease that he has: purity, holiness, goodness, mercy, kindness, love. We could go through the whole fruit of the Spirit if we want to. He came near, and his proximity changed the infection rate of the entire earth. The rest is up to you. What's keeping you from being close to him? Is it the crowd, the sneering, jeering, judgmental crowd? Or is it your own uncleanness? Know that he came to free you from both of those. Whatever is keeping you from him, he's breaking down that barrier. He's smashing it. Do you believe that if he wills you to be clean, that you will be? This is the Christmas to believe that. This season, there's no reason to wait. He offers the gift freely. You don't even have to earn it. You just yield to it and enjoy his salvation. This is my prayer for you, that you would own his healing this Christmas, that you would take on a new calling that would recenter your whole life. This is my prayer for you.